With me now, Louisiana Republican Governor Bobby Jindal. He was asked to come on and speak on education on behalf of the Romney campaign, and he joins me now. Good morning, Governor.
Good morning, Chuck. Thank you for having me.
So tell me exactly, the Romney campaign, they pitched, they said you were helping to speak on the issue of education. Has the campaign reached out? Are you part of making his education plan?
I am, and I think you'll hear more details today. Governor Romney speaking later today in Washington. Three key components of the plan when it comes to pre-K through 12 educational reform that are absolutely critical for our country. Number one, Governor Romney's going to talk about the importance of giving parents clear information on how their child's school is doing. Here in Louisiana, we've done that through report cards, literally giving letter grades to our public schools so parents know exactly how their students are doing on standardized tests, on graduation retention rates. Secondly, Governor Romney's going to propose making sure that students aren't trapped in failing schools. Again, here in Louisiana, we've implemented the country's most comprehensive choice-based program where the dollars follow the students, whether it's a traditional public school, a charter school, online school, a parochial school, private school, a technical school, dual enrollment. The point is, every child is different. No child should be trapped in a failing school. Our children only grow up once. Third and finally, and this is absolutely critical, Governor Romney truly believes that we need to have excellent teachers in every classroom, and so we need to change the way that we compensate our teachers. We need to change our tenure laws. Again, we've done that in Louisiana, linking teacher evaluations to student achievement, reserving tenure for our very best teachers, reversing policies that have for too long paid and hired teachers based on how long they've been in the classroom rather than how well they're doing. The reason this is so important, this is absolutely critical to growing our country's economy. In America, we have historically been number one in the world in educational achievement and attainment as well as outcomes. Now we're in the middle of the pack compared to other industrialized countries, even though we have doubled per student spending since the 1970s, based, even after adjusting for inflation.
I know this is a political campaign, and we're always supposed to find things that cause splits between President Obama and Mitt Romney. But what you just described, the only difference that I hear from what you hear from Arnie Duncan, what he says he wants to do with the race to the top with charter schools, the only difference I see between these three, with the 3 points you put out, is basically this issue of charter schools versus parochial schools. And that seems to be the only really big divide here. Am I wrong?
Actually, look, I'll say a couple of things. I do think that the president, certainly, he's had pretty decent rhetoric on education reform. I think Arnie's a good guy. However, this president, like other Democratic presidents before him, is completely held captive by the lobbyists for the teacher unions. Let me give you two very, very important examples of differences between President Obama's approach and Governor Romney's approach to education reform. The first, when we talk about school choice and making sure the kids aren't trapped in failing schools, again, you get great rhetoric from President Obama, then look at his attempts to kill the D.C. scholarship program. Year after year, the House Republicans and others have to fight to save a very successful program that is helping children who are otherwise trapped in failing schools.
But again, this is about parochial. This is about this divide between charter and religious schools, which really is sometimes this divide between the two parties on whether should religious private schools get taxpayer dollars.
Well, it's not just religious schools. I mean, the D.C. scholarship program, what you've seen, the Obama administration's hostility to this is saying that we want to limit the choices for kids who can't afford to escape failing schools. It's okay for the president to send his children to private schools, but he doesn't want to allow families who otherwise can't afford tuition. They're not just religious schools. The point is that parents should be able to decide if that local public school is not doing a good job. It may be a parochial school. It may be a private school, an independent school. It may be a charter or online school. But here's a second big difference. The president invested tens of billions of our taxpayer dollars in this EduJobs programs. One of his stated rationales was he wanted to help local districts avoid from laying off teachers, wanted to help them hire and keep teachers. What a great opportunity to come in and say, all right, we want to incentivize states to truly target their dollars to effective teachers based on how kids are doing in the classroom. Let me share a couple of comments from the teacher unions in my own state. We had a teacher union, the local affiliate, the local Louisiana Association of Educators, basically say, we're for evaluating teachers as long as you don't link it so closely to student achievement. That's ridiculous. The Obama administration had a great opportunity, spending tens of billions of dollars of federal dollars, unprecedented investment, to say, let's focus on teacher effectiveness. A second comment.
But the nuance on this is always affiliates. Right. But the nuance has always been on, okay, what do you do when you grade a student here? Do you grade? Have they moved up from one reading level to another reading level, or are they on a fourth grade reading level? You see what I mean? I mean, sometimes teachers, and this is where I think the nuance of the argument gets lost, which is, are you grading a teacher's merit pay based on, is the student reading at a specific grade level that they're supposed to be reading on because the state says this is the level, or have they made advancements? They may have been 3 years behind on reading level, but now they're only 1 year behind on reading level, and that's an amazing advancement in 1 year. Say you've jumped 2 reading levels, but you're still behind where the state says you're supposed to be. I mean, isn't there some nuance to this argument?
Well, I think the divide's bigger than that. I certainly, look, we do value-added assessments. We measure the kids at the beginning of the year compared to their progress at the end of the year, and give teachers credit for moving the kids up. So if they start below grade level, they get credit for moving them to or above grade level. Here's the fundamental difference, though. The teacher unions, and unfortunately, because of their position, the Obama administration as well, too often puts a priority not on how well the students are doing, whether it's value-added or just objective outcomes. What they're putting an emphasis on is how long that teacher's been in the classroom. So, for example, again, going back to EduJob funding, you've got last in, first out policies, and instead of saying, all right, I've got a teacher that's moving children up a grade level or 2 grade levels based on where they started in math or reading, instead of keeping those effective teachers, paying them more, instead they're rewarding teachers who've just been there the longest. We don't treat any other professions that way, nearly no other professions that way. Here's the fundamental issue. You've got one teacher that shows up early, does a great job. You got the teacher next door that doesn't do that. And unfortunately, this administration's policies doesn't reward that first teacher, doesn't compensate them better, doesn't encourage districts to prioritize keeping that teacher in the classroom.
No, I think the seniority thing definitely is something that is up for a larger discussion, larger debate. Very